How do you guys feel about the recent NFL players taking a knee during our national anthem?
Um, Here, I guess I'll start with that. Here's the thing, man. There's a lot of really ignorant rhetoric being spat on both the left and the right about this particular thing. Now, I would, I think it's safe to say that everybody in here is a patriot, a strong patriot. But one of the things, like, there's a quote that Benjamin Franklin had a long time ago. I'm a big fan of that guy. I may disagree with what you have to say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. And the thing is whether people disagree with what they have to say or not, or how they're doing what they do, they're exercising a right that is only afforded in this country. This is the only country on the planet where people can do stuff like that. And I saw a thing on Sports Center or something earlier today. There's all this back and forth about how these guys are professional athletes. They don't need to be using that as a medium. But my thing is, if you're in a medium of power and you have a medium and you want to express yourself and you want to exercise your constitutional rights to do something, man, if you have that power to shift it, you should be able to do that. There's going to be flack on both sides, but what I'm trying to say is it really bothers me that there's such media ignorance on the left and the right. Like, these guys are diehard right wingers, are like, man, this guy is he's this, and then these dudes that are the left are like, oh, he's this and this. I mean, dude, the guy's exercising a constitutional right, and that's something that nobody's really getting at this point in the game.
Yeah, you're kind of like me. I feel like a liberal around conservatives, and I feel like a conservative around liberals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't like to get on my veteran soapbox. I try to keep that to a minimum, but there's a lot of stuff going on. Oh, he's insulting the military, this and that. And, that was the whole purpose of me going to war, was to ensure we had the freedom to be able to do these things. And he's standing up, and he has a legitimate problem that he's trying to bring to the media. And like you said, if he has a way of doing that, then that's better than doing nothing. Because here we are, we're all talking about it. So
Yeah.
just talking about it is addressing the issue. It's recognizing that there is a serious problem, and it's having us come together and talk about it. So I think it's awesome what he's doing, and I have no issues whatsoever. I wear the American flag every day, and I love my country. I'm not too happy with my government, but I don't have an issue with what they're doing.
I completely agree with everything you said. I mean, I couldn't have said it better, man. I just had this talk with my fiance's father, and he's more of an old school veteran, so he sees the surface. You're not standing or you're kneeling when the Pledge of Allegiance on, and the Pledge of Allegiance is just about the veterans and the people who died. And of course, to avoid confrontation with the father of the woman I'm about to marry, I didn't concede, but I kind of just expressed my views and kind of let it go. But this will be a conversation that he would love to experience, because there's a lot more involved that he doesn't see, that I don't see, that we don't see, and until you speak and have that intellectual conversation like we're doing right now, and you exercise restraint with your emotions and put your intelligence first, put your best foot forward, there won't be any change. I mean, because otherwise you're going to have these groups like Black Lives Matter or Blue Lives Matter or whatever lives matter, and they're more of a hammer trying, or a big sledgehammer trying to hit a little pin nail, instead of being more precise. Like, yeah, Colin Kaepernick's approach is definitely a little bit more ambiguous, but as as it's going on from the day that he has said, I don't agree with what the government's doing, people have confronted him and said, well, they think you're talking about veterans. Then what did he do? He started kneeling instead of sitting. So obviously he's showing respect, but he's drawing attention. That's what a protest is about.
Yeah.
A protest is to make people see that something's wrong, and you're supposed to do it in a venue or at a on a stage where people will pay attention. And right now, man, and not even right now, but period, veterans are hot topics. I mean, what happens whenever anybody tries to run for president or any type of election or candidacy? Who do they come to first?
Yeah,
Veterans.
I think you're right. The kneeling definitely relayed a better visual than just sitting on your butt.
I hate to interrupt you, but I would say this. Her dad brought up a good point. He said today, because he plays at 10:20 tonight, if he stands up and puts his hand across his chest because it's 9/11, then we both agreed that that would bring more value to what he's doing because he's actually basically his stance is, I'm trying to help the people that don't have a voice, who are and 9/11, those people they didn't have a voice, they were undefendable. So if he stands up today and says, I respect what this day's about, then I think he will garner more respect and attention to the matter at hand. But if he doesn't stand, then it might kind of ruin what he's worked for so far.
Yeah. Sorry, John, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that, I do see where he's coming from, and I do believe that you're right. It's his constitutional right to be able to do that. However, I don't believe, just kind of like how one of the goals of us to have these discussions is to find solutions, I don't believe that, him doing this is necessarily bringing really any positive light to anything. It's just kind of he is being disrespectful to a certain point. And like I said, I agree with his right to choose to do that, but I don't believe that what he is doing is necessarily that helpful. I believe there are many more positive things that he could do to bring attention to the injustices that are going on today. And choosing to be disrespectful to anybody, in my opinion, is not the right way to accomplish a goal.
I think I agree with you on the point that they're going to bring up the issue. He should have some follow through with solutions to the problem because everyone knows the problem exists. I mean, he's making us talk more about it, but I would really love for him to get some solutions with what he's trying to relay. But
well, did you guys hear that the money made from his jump in jersey sales, he's donated to various charities, not just black charities. He's donated to all types of charities. So I mean, he's not a politician by any means. So what he's going to say is probably not going to come off right by no means.
But that's the point. If you're going to make such a drastic statement, if you're going to do that, you need to be prepared before you do that.
You're right.
Yeah, I can dig that too.
It wouldn't be such a big deal if he had a plan to back it up. As it is, it almost looks kind of childish. And I understand that his heart's probably in the right place, but the execution has been terrible.
Well, you got to think, though, too, Jonathan, like, stuff today, though, like most people today, we live in, like, a bombast society. And what I mean by that is people, like, they're very impulsive. They're not – young men today aren't trained to articulate their thoughts before they speak like we were in an old-school fashion. You got to think Instagram. Like, we live in the most hedonistic society on the planet. Instagram, Facebook, it's all about me, 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 me. So I can't really fault him by his medium because, dude, he's just a reflection of modern-day society in that aspect. I can respect the guy for the one part that he's not just wiling out and being an idiot. You got to think, man, like, there's a lot of hardcore activists that will use social issues as a medium just to wile out and act a fool. So I can agree with you there to where, he doesn't really have a plan with that, man. But, like, to his credit, at least the guy's making a first attempt and is starting to understand that he is a role model and he has a medium. And it is. Go ahead.
How come we haven't had any, like, civil rights leaders come to them and then give them something to say? I mean, why is this just like being left out there to hang out to dry? I mean, I realize it's kind of like a political hot topic, and people are probably scared for the backlash. But I completely agree. I think that they should be allowed to do it. I'm glad they're doing it. but they need to have some kind of solution. Otherwise, it does come off childish to me as well.
I feel like, though, that there are a lot of those political leaders that we would think would step up and say something, but I feel like they're part of the problem, black or white. I feel like, I mean, if Jesse Jackson stepped up and tried to help him, he would lose all credibility for me. I'd be like, what the hell are you doing? You know, at this point, the reason I think that I have any type of respect for what he's doing is because what he's doing is, like you were saying, Jack, it's genuine. It's not something that he's like, all right, let me try and think about how I can get more jersey sales because I'm sitting the bench. Or let me see how I can get more attention to me to get traded to a team that, you know, it's nothing like that. He had nothing to lose. The guy's making millions of dollars. He was like, you know what? I don't like this.
If I can say something real quick, too. When you talk about civil rights leaders, man, in modern day, like the last real civil rights leader we had, government knocked off, flat out. His name is Martin Luther King Jr. What we call civil rights leaders today, I'll just throw us out there, Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. These guys are opportunists. They're not real leaders. These guys exploit people and prey upon their fears only when they can get something out of it personally. And dude, coming from a cracker sitting in central Kentucky, man, people are like, oh my God, why are you going to say something like that? Well, it's the truth, man, flat out. I mean, that's just how it is. You know, like it just blows me away because like here's a good thing too, right? Dawan Riggs and Sean King run the hashtag Black Lives Matter movement. Word, I'm cool, you're doing your thing. A lot of people don't know this. The movement is actually funded by an old white dude named George Soros.
I didn't know
This is true talk. Seriously, that's how that works, right? Well, last week in Chicago, they just hit their 500th homicide, right? Who's talking about that? You know, where are the real civil rights leaders there? Do you see them in the streets there? No, because they don't have any opportunity for a medium because they can't get something out of it. And that, coupled with that, that's a major, major problem with what's going on with social issues in America today. Nobody's genuine.